and welcome to another episode of Dare to Dream, where we're turning bold visions into reality. I'm your host, Victoria Hart, and joining me is Denise Rickard. Welcome, Denise.
Hello, Victoria. Hello, everyone. So happy to be here again. We're having so much fun and so much expansion in what's coming through, what people, the questions that are being asked, and it's just been a terrific flow, and it just continues to flow. And we just keep unpacking more and more each week with new wisdom, and I just love it. I'm having so much fun. So thank you, and thank all of you too.
And beautiful, because that's what it's all about, right? We're here to have fun. So we want to be turning our dreams, like the dreams of our hearts, into reality, because that's where our fun is going to lie, right? And so today is all about taking that first step. And so whether it's by your own choice or because the universe gives you a little push, we often hesitate to make these changes until life really leaves us no other option. And so that feeling of being pushed can really feel unsettling, but it's also the universe's way of guiding us towards something greater. And so we're going to be exploring how to recognize when the universe is nudging you to act and how to embrace those moments of uncertainty with confidence. And so, whether you're taking a leap of faith or feeling pushed out of your comfort zone, this discussion will really show you how to trust the process. So, Denise, let's jump in with firstly asking, well, what does it really mean to be pushed by the universe?
Yeah, so those are those nudgings that come from many different areas, and it always starts from within. So there's something within all of us that wants us to our souls, our inner guidance, our higher self, wanting us to be on the path, following our purpose. And then when there's not, I'm petting my little kitty who's meowing really loud here. And if we're not following that, then number one, it's reflecting the outer world, and we could just take that and go in. And we talked about that also last week. And yet it always starts from within, and then there's circumstances that start showing up in life that are like just making us feel uncomfortable. And we talked about that also last week, like the discomfort either in the body or in the physical body or the emotional body, or the feeling, the mind. So
Yeah,
so
for the
it's
experience.
very obvious, right? We just don't feel right. We don't feel
Yes.
good, right? When we're getting pushed.
No, and I mean, from my experience, and I can apply it to sort of relationships and jobs. Before I was doing what I was doing now, I was getting those little signs like to that I was going in the wrong direction, but I didn't realize it for a while because we're kind of being taught that to really be get to that be successful at something, we've got to work hard and we've got to keep pushing, right? But if we're pushing in the wrong direction, and we keep feeling like it's a struggle, then actually that was a sign that no, I'm not meant to be going in this direction, and I was being redirected. And then the same with relationships, getting those hits that maybe we're not aligned anymore. Maybe, being in somebody's company doesn't feel good anymore. And so it's those little subtle signs to help us recognize that, okay, that energy pattern, that time in that relationship is coming to a close. And we can either exit gracefully or, as you were sharing, things get a little bit harder and more uncomfortable and even painful, whether it's in
Yeah,
the body or with that other people. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and you touched on it, and we touched on this also before, but like when we're feeling that we have to be caged in by some type of belief system, whether it's societal or something, that we grew up in a religious structure or family, wherever there's that, ah, it's like a cage. Like these belief systems, they're really meant to help us. So everything is perfect, right? And it's really so there's also this way of looking at it. Like if something's getting uncomfortable, the more we push back, then the more it's showing up in some type of physical, emotional, or mental malady or challenge or whatever. But when we take those signs, even if it's so hard, because like there's like the best friend that you grew up with, and this is what happened in my life, and we just there was it was we had to part ways. It just was not synchronistic, and it was so difficult because like everybody in the family said, why aren't you two talking anymore? What happened? What, how could you do that? That's like you guys have known each other since you were kids. And it was really it was really tough at the time. And then sometimes there's like the emotional attachments of getting out. Like there's sometimes you make a decision and then there's the residue. You're really getting pushed by the universe. And then you make the right decision, and then some of these old belief systems or that we're still hanging on are just like it's like Ebenezer Scrooge, right? Where he's carrying around those chains with whatever he's carrying around, and it's like he doesn't have to. He's carrying it around, and you don't have to. It's like it was when you make the choice and you just really trust in that knowing, that inner guidance that you made the right choice. And this is a way that we're learning. It really is it's a tough way of expanding, and yet it works out the best really than staying in it. So
Mm.
yeah.
Well, and I love that you brought up about belief systems because, certainly from very young, we're kind of conditioned, through our family or our education that, this is the way we do things, and we go to school, we get an education, and we go out and get a job. And, a lot of us are just doing a job because obviously need to pay bills. And I think one of the lessons that I learned is, if you're just doing something just for that reason, that's not your calling really. And that's when you will start to get those signs from the universe to move into a new direction because your soul's calling out, right? Your soul wants something more, and your soul has come here with specific gifts and talents, and a contribution to make. And if you're not in alignment with that, then it's kind of like, you're not living your highest potential, and you're also not able to serve others in the way that you came here to be of service, because you've just followed kind of the conditioned path. So I really love that you brought that up. And then let's talk then about, what kind of signs might we get then to move us in a new direction. Because I know for me, certainly, and I just want to actually pick up again on what you said about friendships, because I found for myself as well, and this might be true for you, Denise, is when I was starting to get more in alignment with my soul path, those old friendships that had been built when I wasn't aligned did start to fall away because, like you shared, it wasn't aligned anymore. Yeah, so it was like the old version of me who wasn't really my true natural self was in relationships with people that were maybe also not in their highest potential. And then as soon as you start to shift paths, then you align more with the people and the things that are for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And really thank you for all that. And it's like um that it's that comfort zone. And I think we talked about that also, like the comfort zone of discomfort for
Mm.
so like it's just been so ingrained in us for so long. And then to take that step outside of the comfort zone seems scarier than making that decision. And yet when you make that decision, it's like universal law that you're making space when you're clearing out the clutter, so to speak. You're making space for the new to come in. So it's like, is it better to, and sometimes, and I'll go to your question in a second, but this was coming up as you were saying this. Sometimes it's like, um, take like when we take a step back, when it feels like we're being nudged and pushed to make, and take a step back and go, well, okay, what's keeping me in this? What's really keeping me in this? What kind of fear or what, what, that what maybe it's something within that's happened in another another lifetime experience or in this lifetime, or maybe it's just really coming from the outside, like from the people who love us, who are going in fear because
Yeah,
they've got their own fears.
yeah,
But yet when like this has just been coming so strongly for all of us on this, on our path, on our, really finding and following our soul path. It's been coming so loud and clear. You know, for me especially, and for my clients, it's been like these last 3 years have been a massive clean out.
yeah.
It started before, but there was more awareness
Mm.
these past 3 years, and so it's like just knowing that there is something better that's going to replace it. Like, and so what are some of those nudges? I think that's the question you asked, right? Like,
Mm.
what are some of those signs? My cat. What are some of those signs that the universe? It's really, there's going to be a something, some type of discomfort, some
Mm.
type of something's just not right anymore. Um, and it may be something that's felt within the physical body. It may be an awareness of, like, if it's a relationship, that there's something different you're noticing, or you're seeing something that you didn't notice before in a relationship. So it's really uh, once you start seeing things changing, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm gonna let you take it because I know I'm like maybe you have a specific example.
Well, I
Um,
think what you just shared, yeah, it's that, we've got to be ready to change when we're getting those signs that change is happening. We're in it. And of course, change is happening around us all the time. And what was coming to mind is, we hear that expression, you're either growing with someone or you're growing apart. So you need to be able to recognize, are we still going in the same direction? Is this serving me? Is this, right, raising me up? Or has it kind of become stagnant and am I feeling, yeah, like it's holding me back? And then the other thing that was coming through was, you know, um, so you get the fear things that you were sharing, but then also you might get the inspired hit, like, oh, I'm getting this inspiration to do something. And then that's again where the fear will crop up and sort of be like, oh, but, do you think you can? Or what if it goes wrong? Or, all of those kind of thoughts. And I was just thinking back to when I was guided to put on a summit in the spring, and I'd got the idea sort of late last year, probably around this time or October last year. And so I started putting feelers out, like who could I invite? And then something happened, and I ended up with a bit of a health thing pop up from nowhere. And it was so interesting to watch because we all have these little players, within us that are kind of are acting those roles like, oh no, you better stop, you can't do it because now you're ill or whatever. And so that was the inner saboteur that popped up. And so it's like, well, you can't do it now. You're going to have to delay it for another 6 months or whatever. And I can laugh because I caught it. Like often you'll get sucked into that and you'll be like, yeah, you're right. I can't do it. But I caught it and I was like, I see you. I see you trying to sabotage my growth, my stepping out of this comfort zone. And so rather than, completely shut it down, I just delayed it for a couple of months to allow myself that sort of grace to heal a bit more before I could, jump in again. So maybe you've got something to share on the back of that.
Yeah, that's such a great example because in the fact that like the fact that you and I feel like as we are tapping in more, like really getting in touch with who we are, and we talked a lot about this last week as well, is that when you're in touch with who you are and you really spend time in kind of inner reflection, whether that's through meditation or prayer, whatever, or silence or nature, like when you're in touch with that, that also helps to really like see when the universe is tapping on the shoulder, and like you saw it, right? You saw it because you could have gotten, I mean, with all the work you're doing as well, like it made more space for you to actually see that, to so you're not in that spinning of kind of that old paradigm, and really that's why so much light is pouring on the earth, and why we're doing this kind of work within ourselves and with others, and it's really about knowing and then being able to see more clearly, really, when we're getting those messages, and then when it's possibly being sabotaged by a belief system or a reaction or something that is seemingly trying to keep us safe.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Like inner protector. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think that kind of leads us nicely then into asking, well, how do we recognize the difference between just waiting for the right moment versus getting in that kind of procrastination rut and just not moving forward?
Yeah. When, you know, that's such a great question because the time is that the time to make choices is always now.
Yeah, true.
So when something comes in, like you just that's when you visit it.
Yeah.
You pray on it, you meditate on it, you ask for guidance from your higher self or from your guides, and say, okay, this is something that's like, okay, I'm going to a new job. I mean, I moved to a new state. Like I left here, well, I'm back now, my hometown, and I went with, I basically followed a guy to another state, and he was not the one that I was meant to marry yet. He really was the catalyst to get me to that state so that I met the husband. I had my two daughters. Then there was the divorce and all of that. Like that was all a massive part of like my soul's plan in this lifetime, and learning and expanding. And so yeah, it's that tapping in and going with um, and really asking, just asking for that clarity. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And, the title of this series is Turning Bold Visions into Reality. And so, in order to do that, we have to take bold steps. And so, as you shared, there is never a right moment. As soon as you get that hit, like you're inspired to do something, that's when you're asked to take a step. And as we
Yes.
shared in the last conversation, we often hold back because it feels overwhelming. But of course, we're only invited to just make that little first, little first step. Let's just dip our toe in and see how we go. And then the next part will start to be revealed. And so the more we kind of gently shift out of our comfort zone, we're sort of moving into a new comfort zone, like, step by step. But if we pause too long and procrastinate too long, then I feel that is where, it gets really scary because we've churned it over in our minds for so long. We've created it into this big sort of fear.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and it's so funny as you're saying that I'm seeing like a Disney movie where like those old-fashioned brooms that they put, this is what Spirit's showing me, that like the wooden handle and the broom, and then the broom is made up of like rush or whatever that's all tied, and then it's like they're sweeping and it's like I don't know, in one of the Disney movies, like sweeping out the mouse out of the house or something, but the mouse is a character. And it's kind of like,
Cinderella, isn't it?
what's that?
Cinderella?
Yeah, it's probably Cinderella. It would be because I think I've seen every version of Cinderella that's out there live, and the classic animated. But it's like it's like sweeping out the old, right? It's sweeping out the old. It's being nudged, and then so we're on our path, and no matter what, we're going to be on our path, right? We are here. That is, whether we remember it or not, we come to the earth, we have a path, we have a purpose. We have
Yeah.
a purpose for being here. And it could be, it's perfect for everybody. And so that broom coming in was kind of like, um, we can be on our path. And then, like you said, there can be delays, which could be these little side roads on the path, and those could lead to another side road, and there could be a fork in that, and until that broom comes along, our inner self that says, get back on the path. You just don't need to spend so much time off the path, and that is that time spent off the path, and it's all good because it's all about learning, but it doesn't always have to be. It can be, you can get back on path and you can do things a lot quicker. So
Yeah, and that's key for, recognizing when we're being pulled into different distractions to, whether aware of it or not, to avoid, oh, I'm being invited to take this step, take this new direction or leap of faith. But because it feels a bit scary, I'll just distract myself over here. And then we fall into those kind of procrastination patterns, versus recognizing that, nope, I'm going to keep focused on my path, and I'm going to stay the course. So yeah, really important. Um,
yeah, and oh,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
on.
I was gonna say that procrastination, like that's like that broom, whacking at the little mouse or whatever. That's a broom. That's our higher self pushing more, because there's the push is just, it gets louder and louder. So you can procrastinate. We can procrastinate as much as we want, but it's never going to be comfortable because we're not in alignment with that path, with that purpose. So there's going to be discomfort, and so if there is this discomfort in whatever way it is, like sometimes it might be um the like a relationship one after another that's showing up with the exact same
Yeah,
personality traits, and somebody who's not honoring our like who's wanting to control our life for us and not honoring our own
I like.
choices, whatever it is that's showing up in the relationship. Like some people say, well, I just attracted the same, person in a romantic relationship the last 4 times. I'm done. I give up. And it's like that's it. Just it gets louder and louder and louder, and it's kind of like it's there's no giving up, because we're going to get pushed. There's no giving up. It's either going to be the same thing, another relationship like that, or something needs to be seen and something needs to be changed, evolved, shifted, released,
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Well, and that's, that's where we end up in these loops. Or as you were speaking, I was getting the word Groundhog Day, which is every day's the same, right? And nothing has shifted. We just, keep repeating the same lessons or the same mundane, perhaps even existence. So I think it's a good time to just invite those who've joined us live, if they want to drop in the chat anything that's come up from what we've just shared so far, or can you relate to anything, or is there something that you're going through right now that's maybe nudging you and you're just feeling a little bit apprehensive, and we can speak to that. So let's just have a look, see if anyone wants to pop in the chat.
Yeah.
And then while we're waiting, we can talk about, some of the things, um, how being brave and having that courage to take the next step, even in the face of uncertainty, and how we can kind of find that um,
Yeah,
bravery.
yeah. That's that's really empowerment like to ourselves. And it is really about not giving power or control of our own lives away to another person or a group or an idea, a belief system,
Yeah.
and allowing um, and just like it's really about knowing what we want. It's really about knowing what we truly want because sometimes there is that flailing and that going off on different routes of the path because there's just no clarity on what we want because that has been laid out for us so much. And that's a really a key that like spirit's bringing that through right now that so maybe there's even somebody in who's listening or who's here today who's going to be listening. We're tapping into the group field that there is that really knowing what it is that you want, um, and how you want to live your life. Like that's really what it's all about. That's really what it's all about. How do you want to live your life? And then how is that not happening because it's been um, turned over to somebody else to direct and control?
Yeah, and even if we don't always know what we want, because sometimes it's not always clear, we can at least start with, well, what I don't want, and start clearing that out. And even as you were sharing about other people's ideals, that's not necessarily just being in a partnership that feels like we're not in control of it or whatever, but actually, you know, as I said earlier, if we're just going out doing these jobs just because, well, I've got bills to pay, but it's not really lighting me up, I don't jump out of bed every morning, I'm not really feeling like I'm growing, and all of those things, then again, it's that same dynamic. Someone else is you're playing a little role in someone else's dream, really, aren't you, rather than your own dream. So
Absolutely.
that's great that you brought that up. And then the other thing that was coming through is around that kind of, do we then just stay being that victim of happenstance, or do we actually become the creator of our lives? And some people do choose to stay in that, well, this is all I'm going to get, or feeling sorry for ourselves. But we're just always being invited to take that, that next step, out of that kind of victim consciousness. So
Yeah.
let's have a quick look in the chat. Let's see, we've got some comment here already. So yes, this 100% resonates with me. I've always wanted to go back to be creative and just started a holistic creative art therapeutics course. Amazing. And doors
Wow.
keep opening. I love it.
Wahoo! Congratulations. Yeah.
Yes. So I hope it leads me to my road without these obstacles and no regrets. Absolutely. And, I think even if that something does pop up, or even in the past, if things have got in the way, I do feel like we don't really need to regret it because everything that's happening to us has happened for us in some regard, whether we see it in that moment or not. It's always been to help us get that next aha, or to recognize, no, I don't want this. Yes, I do want that. So yeah, yeah, great. Um,
Yeah. And sometimes the that discomfort in moving, like as you said, like that's part of the growth. And it's also uh it's a directional correction, or it's like it's just informing, and it doesn't have to be, growth doesn't have to be um so so chunky. It doesn't have to be, but it's something that, because of so many belief systems that are ingrained in us, that it is that way. And yet the more we get in touch with what we really want, and like what is being shared here, is that, like, wow, to just like to be a creator and to create a holistic space, like that's a big step. And it's also, when, because it resonates, it's going to be, and yes, there's going to be the challenges, but again, it's the direction. It's helping direct you and helping you really stand clear in who you are. And then it does get easier, because when we're so clear with who we truly are, then things just start, like that chunkiness or those challenges start falling away, or they dissipate. There's always going to be challenges for growth, and yet they don't have to be so discomforting, so uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, and she also says, that a risk has to be taken, and that's so true. We do need to take these risks, and as she goes on to say that what's the worst thing that happened? Well, you can always go back to the boring, mundane job.
Yes.
Absolutely. But, the only regrets I think you would have possibly, and we did touch on this last week, is by not taking those steps, and maybe the years go by and then we're like, oh, I wonder what might have happened. What, all those what ifs, whether it's job, relationship, whatever area. And I think that's really, where we may fall into regret. Let's have another quick look here. The broadcast was timely. I'm experiencing a lot of synchronicities at the moment, and nothing seems to fit. I recently ended a relationship as it didn't align with what I feel and want and deserve. I'm also
Yeah.
recently moved to a different. I'm not quite sure if I'm understanding that right. A different,
Like a location, or
maybe,
yeah,
um, county.
country.
Thank you.
Oh, county.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Started a job. But work I've been in for the past 10 years, I don't want to do it anymore. Right. So the signs I'm being pushed are that my relationship ended and things are happening in my new job that are making me think I'm not meant to be there either. So the problem is I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing, but I do know it has something that makes me feel alive. I love that you said that.
Oh, yeah.
Alive. That
Yeah.
is the key. That is absolutely spot on. We want to feel alive.
Yeah.
And you know, so many of us, we think we're alive, right? But if we're just doing that boring, mundane job, we're not really embracing the joys of living.
Yes, yes. And like, to that is a big bold leap. Like you brought in that as well. Victoria, is, to take a big bold leap, to move counties, to move to a different location. and then that's like the first step, right? That's the first step. And then there's like absolutely knowing this is right. And then everything else is starting to come into alignment. So yeah, maybe the job that you've been doing the past 10 years is is not in alignment with who you are, and yet instead of like being deluged with so much stuff all at once, it's like the move happened, and now you're seeing that that the job is not necessarily, and I saw somebody say your passion, which is so key, like following your passion. And so that's like your next bold step, is to like really tap in and know what is it that you want to do. And I really do hear, and you've brought this in also, Victoria, like a lot of those who are like finding, like expanding and really loving living a spiritual life, and wanting to do um businesses that are more holistic, or just living differently from the structure, let's just say, that the world has put out there. That there's this that's also a liberation to and then what I was following here is that sometimes there's like wanting to start that spiritual business, or to make a leap, and then there's like, well, what about the money or whatever, and really just tapping into, because for some people they stay in their position, or they get a different job or whatever, to pay the bills while they're building their business, and so then that also helps with some of the you know, the comfort, or the knowing that the bills are getting paid. And so it doesn't have to, the you can make the leaps if you want to, and yet just really to have it cohesive and harmonizing, just keep following and just keep taking those bold steps, and then it opens up, and then you get this great joy, this feeling of freedom, like
Mm.
she said. So yeah.
Yeah, freedom and aliveness. And I love that you shared that because, of course, the financial situation is probably the main reason why people don't take that leap of faith. And, we've been kind of, again, conditioned. It is kind of a belief system and a conditioning in a lot of ways that we can't achieve our dreams without money. And actually, I don't believe that's true because once, as you were sharing, once we start to get onto our correct path, those doors of opportunities will open and will be taken care of. And I'm sure I've read somewhere that, don't trust that spirit's taking care of that kind of thing. You're just here to find what makes you happy. And if you can, as hard as it sounds or seems sometimes, if we can kind of just drop that fear and worry a little bit and just trust that if I keep going towards what feels aligned and what lights me up and makes me feel alive, then the next part of the path is going to be revealed. And there was
Yeah, and
something.
you absolutely, like, this brings up like such a great, this comes up a lot when talking like with clients, or with people who want like to start a spiritual business, or to leave a job that's not like like we're here to take action, and to move our life forward. And yes, the spirit leads us, our higher self leads us, our guides lead us. And it's like that that fiddler on the roof, where the guy is like, I'm sitting on I'm sitting on the roof, he's in heaven. He's like, God, I sat on the roof during the flood, and why did I die? Or why am I
I know,
here?
yeah.
And he said, I sent you a boat, and I sent you, and so it's like, and until, because that's what we're here to really line up and have absolute trust. Like that's the work that we're doing. So we get to the absolute trust where we absolutely know that this is the direction that we are being led in. And then if you quit the job, then you know the path is open and something else comes in. So there's work to be done to really let go of all that conditioning. And that's really what we're talking about today is like the universe is like it's like there are signs. There are signs when we're being pushed to get back on path. Yeah.
Mm. And I think like where you were sharing that, people want to move from a, let's say, a corporate role to a more spiritual role. Actually, you either are living as spirit at all times or you're not, essentially. And as you were sharing, it reminded me of a quote by Joseph Campbell. And he says, and this is again what you were sharing about, we're trying to control the outcome versus just surrendering and trusting. And so Joseph says, we must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. And I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful in what I can't remember who it was that said, we want to feel alive, right? That is the whole purpose of being here. If we're just breathing, but we're not really feeling like we've got life breathing through us, then maybe that's a sign that we're not quite living our soul path yet. So maybe it's a good time if you'd like to unmute yourselves and maybe just have a little share and see what people are getting from this conversation. Maybe if anyone needs a bit more guidance with something that they're perhaps going through right now. And Denise, it might be also good to have your cards handy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll just
Yeah.
share, like, because Denise is our galactic numerologist. And I'm a number nine. And nine, I always knew was about being humanitarian. And so, if I look back at my whole path, it's all about doing humanitarian things and wanting to, you know, create this heaven on earth and live on this beautiful planet. And I think you told me actually it's also about evolution, right?
Yes.
So
Nine is evolution and galactic
constantly
numerology. Yeah.
evolving myself, and in doing that, I'm evolving my experiences.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and with the number nine, and then there's these 9 year cycles, and I'm going to be talking about this more because we're going to be in a 9 year in 2025. And it's interesting because my daughter, my first daughter, uh, she is truly an evolutionist, and she's a city planner, and so that means she has a lot to do with what's happening in the community. And I remember when she was in college, like some of the studies that she was doing was really about humanitarian ways of running cities, and it's interesting because she was born on 4/4. There's so many synchronicities with like me becoming the galactic numerologist, like in numbers in my life, my phone number, repeating numbers in my phone number. But my daughter was born 4/4 1999. And in the four plus the four plus the one is nine, and then the 999. So then four nines is 36, three and six is nine. So she, like everything in her birth date adds up to nine as an evolutionist. So
Just
yeah.
made me realize as well in my phone number, I've got three nines as well. So, wow.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. I have three twos and three fives
Wow.
in my phone number. I mean, it's just there's so many, talk about the universe like bringing
Yeah.
in numbers. That was before galactic numerology came in, but yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
should we open the floor if anyone
yeah,
wants to unmute themselves? I don't know, Kiki, you've just put in the chat, and I'd love for you to share that if you're willing, because I think that's a great example that we can maybe talk about how you get inspired to take action versus whether we feel like we're forcing something. So feel free if you'd like to.
yeah. Did you want
Yeah,
to? Yeah.
I'm
Hi,
happy to share actually. I
great.
mean, I couldn't believe it. This presentation you're doing tonight came through from somebody in my sort of like a holistic spiritual group that I've joined in this county that I'm now living in, which I joined
Oh,
before
that
I
would be
moved
me.
here.
Yeah, I popped that in
Was
there
that
today.
you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I saw that, and I was supposed to go swimming tonight. I booked a swim, and I thought I can't go because I want to be part of this.
Oh, thank you.
And
Beautiful.
it's all just, it all fits in.
Yes.
Like I was saying, I moved here because it's the only job I could get in this area. In the whole country. I do locum contract work for the NHS. And
Mm.
it just happened. It's weird. It just happens. My contract ended on the Isle of Wight, where I'd been living for 3 years. My
Mm.
partner lived in Hertfordshire, which is where I am at the moment. But I didn't move here to be closer to him. And I can say that honestly, because we were seeing each other every couple of weeks and everything was fine. I was getting a bit fed up with long distance. So I think the universe
Right.
knew that, because what's happened is the universe brought me here. I applied for about 4 jobs and I didn't hear back from any of them. And then this one in Hertfordshire, 60 people applied for it. They shortlisted 20 and there were 6 positions and I got one in Hertfordshire. I'm staying somewhere that is literally down the road from him. I could have ended up in another area in Hertfordshire because it's a big county, but I'm working in an office down the road from where I'm working. And it's almost like the universe pushed me into this position to say, right, let's sort this relationship out once and for all, blah, 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 blah. And it all just came to an end last Thursday because it all didn't feel right. Like you were talking about, it all feels uncomfortable. Things that happened, a whole load of circumstances over a period of a few days just made me think, hang on a minute, this is not what I want. It was like being like spirit just pushed all this information in my face, or the universe, whatever you want to call this energy that's around us, just pushed it all in my face. Of course, now this job, I've been doing the work that I do for 10 years. I really hate it because I'm in a building that's a bit corporate. I have to wear a lanyard around my neck. It's all very structured. So it's safe because I work with mental health with children and young people, and they're high risk, some of them. So it has to be like that. But there's all these systems and procedures you have to learn. And I just thought, what the hell am I doing? There's been a couple of incidents with the staff that I've thought, well, this doesn't normally happen. And these are all signs to me, everything, like the universe, like a setup, like a universal setup, setting me up to really look at what I'm doing. And I've been really craving, because I love traveling, and I've been craving a remote job. I think it came up, I don't know whether it was predictive text on the message. I do want a remote job. And about 3 nights ago, I had a WhatsApp message from somebody who is a freelancer in a company with a company. Before that, the employment agency. I think I'm a member of LinkedIn, and I'd made an inquiry a while ago and completely forgotten about it. And I had somebody from the recruitment agency saying, are you still interested in this job? Can I put your name forward to this person? And da, 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 da. And I said, well, what job? What? And I'd completely forgotten about it. Anyway, I said, well, just yes. It was just a yes. He contacted me 2 days later, and I'm going to do, after this meeting, I'm going to do my training for it tonight.
Wow. Wow.
And I
Wow.
I didn't want to work hard. I just want to work. I don't need to be rich. I just want to earn enough money. It was more about being free. It was more about being free so I can travel. It's work that I can do anywhere in the world. I love India. I love Asia. I've already had some glimpses of what I'd like to do, but it's not quite coming yet. You know how sometimes it just drip feeds and then all of a sudden you've got the big picture on the screen. And I've had these little insights of, yeah, I want to organize trips around India and Sri
Mm.
Lanka.
Love it.
Mm.
So this is my inspiration, and it fills me with great passion and joy
I can hear
when
it.
I even talk about it and think about it, because it makes me feel alive. It lights me up. But I'm not sure if that's it yet. But I'm standing on this cliff, and it's like I fit like something happened at work yesterday, and I thought, you know what, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to quit. Then part of me says, oh well, I've got my professional accreditation, and not my. I don't want to kind of look really bad in front of other professionals and just leave. And I thought, right, I'm going to maybe do another month or something like that, because I've only been there 3 weeks and I can give a week's notice. And I thought, shall I just give it a period of time, decide on that period of time, and then just jump off the cliff to God
Mm.
knows what? I don't know. I'm just hoping that I can get this training done, that this job will be something I can do and feel okay about enough for me to just make that jump. And I think it's just only a matter of probably a couple of weeks.
Yeah. There's so much magic that you're revealing in all of this because like you have made up your mind. You want to be happy. You want to be
Yeah,
so you've been taking these bold leaps and then
yeah.
all this magic is happening. Like it just so happens that you move to, and then
Mm,
the partner and then the relationship ends and then you're in this national health whatever and it's
yeah.
like the nudge, the next nudge comes, and then the universe says, "Oh, look, you applied for this job." And not only that, but would you believe, and I'm going to say this because it came through in the chat, I saw it, and if Victoria is probably going to say it too. There's another person on this call who lives in the town that you live in.
I was laughing.
I saw
Yes.
that. Yeah. Yeah. So you're Victoria, yeah,
I'm
Victoria. Yeah.
Victoria, so you probably saw
So
I
you
popped
put
it in there. I popped it in
the
there
link
today.
in. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much for that,
Well, thank you for
because
coming.
I wanted to share that. Because I do feel a little bit spiritually isolated, and I joined this group. It's funny, I joined it before I moved here.
Hmm.
It's almost like I knew I was going to be moving here, but I didn't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you know what? This is why I thought it would be good to bring you in on this because this
Mm,
is demonstrating what inspired action looks like versus
yeah.
when we're doing something because we're in fear or we feel pressured, whether it's
Yes.
by ourselves or by other people. And, I think this links nicely with the decision you're making in your current job. You can
Mm,
exit gracefully, but you've got to
yeah.
choose to make that step, or you just end up staying in the same thing because you feel obligated, or there's some form of pressure.
There's no way I can stay in it. It's getting very uncomfortable. It's like wearing clothes that are too tight or shoes that don't fit.
Yes.
You
That's
know,
like that's
I
perfect
gotta
because
get them off.
yeah,
They gotta go. Like,
that's what we were
and
talking about. Like, how do you
yeah,
know? You're right. The shoes that are too tight, the clothes that it's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's very, very, very obvious. And yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I see somebody's has to jump off because we're coming to the end. But gosh, so great. Glad you joined us and bringing in that in your experiences too. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Beautiful.
you. So
Anything
yeah,
else?
I'm really, yeah, I'm just blown away. And I think that was a perfect example to show, demonstrate
Mm.
this whole conversation to notice, am I going to take that leap of faith or do I need a push and what does that look like? And of course,
This is where the law of attraction comes in as well before, because I'm
yeah,
I'm a major manifester, and this isn't
Yeah.
the first time
right.
I've been through this process.
Yes.
I've manifest everything I've done in my life. I've manifested because I've had the desire, I've had the dreams and the visions and
Yes.
the
Key.
sort of imagination and the energy. I can
Yes.
just feel the energy, and then all of
Yes.
a sudden the energy just, like I said to you, at the minute it's drip feeding. Soon there's going to be a whole picture on the screen of exactly where I'm going and what I'm supposed to be doing. So
Yeah.
and so
So yeah,
I'm familiar with this process, but it's still very
beautiful.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's the trick is really, can you stay in that discomfort long enough for the shift to happen? Because
Mm,
that's when we're surrendering, because we don't know how long it's going to take, and often it takes
yeah,
longer than our humanness wants. And
yeah,
just sit and simmer in that. And I think I wanted to pick up as well, what I found really interesting that you shared was, when you were in a relationship where you weren't seeing each other often enough, and then you kind of got put in that situation to really try it out, and then it turned out that actually maybe this isn't aligned as I thought, because the universe was giving you that opportunity to really, yeah, see, is this what you want? So how interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Very interesting how everything's all changed in the blink of an eye.
Right.
And
And
if
yet you're
more
the
change is going
creator.
to happen. Sorry?
Yeah. You're the creator of it because you
Yeah,
have been like imagining it and desiring it. Like they'll
yeah,
you're the creator of that. And it has to start with that seed of imagination, desire, wanting. Like, what do you
yeah,
want? That's what we were talking about early. What do you really want? Like you have to be clear on what you want, or the universe can't
absolutely.
respond. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying about the drip feeding. It's drip, 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 a bit, 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 bit. And then all of a sudden the picture will be on the wall and then it'll be, yes, that's it. And
Mm,
it'll align with my feelings and
Mhm.
my values and my beliefs and on all the rest of it.
yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's
Oh, thank you. I'm
so
happy I could
helpful.
share it and support your podcast, so other people on here can sort of
Yeah,
hear that actually this just isn't theory. This happens.
Mm.
it is possible. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's possible. Beautiful. Wow.
Mm,
All right. So as we wrap up, I really hope that you can now see that whether you take that leap of faith or you get that nudge, whether it's gentle or a push, that both paths are leading you toward that growth. And so the
yeah.
universe is always guiding you, and taking that first step, however scary it feels, is going to open a door to new opportunities. And again, it's really just then a choice. Do I want this or do I not want this? And, if we wait too long for that perfect moment, it may not come in. And
Yeah.
really, there is no such thing. So trust the timing,
Yeah.
listen to the signs, and remember that even
Yeah.
the small steps are moving us in that right direction.
Yeah.
And
And
just to say as well, Leah, who she's gone now, but she actually just said that she's in India and had to go for her sound healing class.
I think she said she's Indian because you were talking about exploring India.
Oh, I thought it says, and I'm in Indian. Oh, so I am an Indian. Okay. So she
Oh,
must be
yeah.
also living in Hertfordshire, right?
Yes, yes,
Because this
yeah.
is a Hertfordshire, Victoria, you've put this
I
on the
popped it in.
Hertfordshire
I popped it.
holistic healing site. And
Yes. And you
yeah,
showed up.
beautiful.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
And
love
so
it when
we'll have
all the
to hook up on
synchronicities.
there when we've got off here. Because I
Mm,
don't know what it is you do or anything. So
yeah, keep
maybe you
us.
could put something out on the advertising
sure.
channel.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
hopefully my name does pop up on there and you'll see, but we'll have to check that. Uh,
Maybe I just haven't clocked it because it wasn't the right time.
well,
Mm.
I'll check as well. It'd be good to know because I like to
Mm.
think, yeah, that my details are showing up. So thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
So Denise, is there anything more that you'd like to share before we
I was just going to say, just inviting, like, we want to hear, like, back whether you can join our podcast or not, like, even just sending a reply to the email and to anybody who is tuning in at a different time. Like when your feedback, like when you took a leap of faith, there was something that you heard today that really helped you, and then you made a decision, and then like where it's leading you from there. Like we'd love to hear the feedback from you. So this is all a part of that, us growing together, and we'd love to hear from you as well. So
Yeah, beautiful. Nice. So thank you everyone for joining us this week. Next week, actually, it's Thanksgiving in the US.
yeah.
So we're going to take a little break next week and we'll pick up again the following week. And so use that time to really reflect and integrate all that we've shared today and in the past two shows as well. And then when you rejoin us the following week, we're going to really be diving even deeper into what it looks like when we get that inspired inspiration, that that spark of excitement and to take action. So we'll be
Well,
exploring.
I might be well in it by then, so it'd be appropriate to me to join that one as well.
Good.
Fantastic. Do come
Yes.
along. We'd love to dive a bit deeper
Yeah,
into all
you
of
can
this.
see where I'm at.
Good.
Good. We would love to. Thank you.
All right, you can journey along with us. That's brilliant. All right,
Yeah.
thank you everyone, and we'll see
Okay,
you
lovely.
at the
Thank
next
you. I've
time.
really enjoyed it tonight. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Denise, again, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks' time.
Beautiful. Thank you.